The 2022-2023 NBA season is one that can be described thus far as having been dominated by the big man. From the blockbuster trade this offseason by the Timberwolves for center Rudy Gobert, to the resurgence of Anthony Davis dominating the league at the center position, to centers Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid ranking numbers 1 and number 2 so far in the NBA MVP voting odds, the center position has reemerged as one of, if not the most entertaining position in all of basketball. And at the forefront of this reemergence are Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. And while Jokic is the two-time reigning MVP and the odds makers' favorite so far to win the MVP again for the third time in a row, it's in fact Joel Embiid who should be looked at as the favorite to win the award this year. As game in and game out so far this season, he's putting on display one of the better seasons we have ever seen from a player at that position. But before we get into the rest of the video, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and comment down below what your thoughts are after you finish watching, if you agree, disagree, or anything else you want to talk about. But without further ado, let's get into Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is having a season for the ages and putting on both offensive and defensive clinics in just about every game he plays. The reigning scoring champ at this point in the season is again leading the NBA in scoring with 33 points per game on 53% shooting from the field, 36% from 3, and 85% from the free throw line, all culminating for a true shooting percentage of 64.1%. And then defensively, he is top 5 in both defensive rating and defensive win shares, top 10 in defensive box plus minus, and he currently ranks inside the top 10 as a favorite to win the Defensive Player of the Year award, and that rating continues to go up week by week. But beyond just the basic stats and numbers, there are a lot of things about Joel's game this season that will lead you to believe that he should be crowned the title of the league's most valuable player. And the first and most impressive are the various manners in which he scores the basketball. It's not a stretch to say that Embiid is one of the 5 best mid-range shooters in the entire league. And while the numbers do back this up, as he is shooting 46% from that area on the 5th most attempts of anyone in the league and has the 4th highest makes, but rather it's his fluidity, the frequency, and the precision which he shoots from that spot on the floor that makes him a literal nightmare for any player to guard. Joel knows that his mid-range game is something that defenders must account for, and he oftentimes uses this to his advantage by putting together a series of shot fakes that turn into hard drives to the basket where he hits a high percentage of his looks at 78%. In addition to his mid-range game, Joel has turned himself into quite the respectable three-point shooter, knocking down 36% of his attempts. This is not only credited to his hard work in getting better with that shot, but it can also be attributed to the fact that he is a real threat in both the mid-range and the pick and roll. When facing other bigs defensively in the pick and roll, his opponents must normally sink into drop coverage in an attempt to more easily contest his deadly mid-range shot, or get in better position to stop his drives to the basket. However, this plays directly into Joel's hands, as for the season, he knocks down 43% of his wide-open threes, or threes in which a defender falls into drop coverage. And now as a defender, it's truly a pick-your-poison type of decision. When he comes out of the pick and roll, do you let him nail the mid-range shot, drive to the basket and possibly get fouled, or do you let him shoot 3? For most big men, you want them to shoot that 3, but for a center like Joel Embiid, there truly is no winning. So we know Joel essentially is unguardable at the rim, we know he's a machine from mid-range, and we know he can do damage from 3. What we haven't talked about yet is his post game. Most older NBA fans believe that the post-up game is a relic of the past as they watch the game today. And while it's not used as often as it was in previous years, for a number of reasons, it is a strategy that has not completely abandoned all players' arsenals, and Joel Embiid is one of those players. Joel not only ranks 4th in post-ups per game this season, but he also averages scoring the 2nd most points of any player in the league when he posts up. With his 7-foot, 280-pound frame, he is big and strong enough to bully his way to the basket, and if that's not an option, he has Hakeem Olajuwon-like foot speed and dexterity to maneuver his way around any defender and get to the basket. A man with that combination of type of size and foot speed shouldn't be possible, but for Joel Embiid, it's become routine. Beyond his massive frame and elite footwork, one other thing that makes Joel's post-up so effective is his ability to hit turnaround jumpers. For the season, Joel is shooting 38% on all of his turnaround jump shots, which is a good enough percentage to utilize that as a weapon in his vast scoring arsenal. His free throw shooting is another part of his game that adds to his point total. At the moment, Joel is shooting 85% from the line, which is not just the best in the league for any center who takes 5 or more free throws per game, but he also ranks in the top 15 of any player, regardless of position, in terms of free throw percentage, who takes 5 or more free throws in a game. And there's this myth floating around amongst fans and on NBA Twitter that Joel Embiid only scores as many points as he does because of free throws. And this could not be further from the truth. While it is true that Joel leads the NBA in free throws attempted with 11.6 per game, if you were to take away all of his free throws, and in addition, all the free throws of every other player who ranks in the top 20 scoring this season, Joel Embiid would fall from being the league's leading scorer all the way down to being its second leading scorer. So while he does get to the line a lot and make a ton of free throws, which is a good thing, I don't know why people would criticize him for that, don't let that confuse you into thinking that the only way he manufactures his points is at the free throw line. Even without those free throws, he is one of the best scorers in the entire league. And finally, the last part of his game that makes him so effective is Joel's ability to pass the ball. While he may not be Nikola Jokic or Domantas Sabonis, Joel Embiid is a more than capable passer, who when he's on the court accounts for 23% of all the assists that take place. And he creates his assists by understanding his scoring gravity, as when he's driving to the basket, he'll kick the ball out to shooters because the defense always has to collapse on him. And then you look at his mid-range game, or when he gets into his post game, he is aware of where the defense is coming from, and when he sees where the extra man is sliding, he kicks the ball out to his necessary players to give him the best chance to score. So overall, between both his scoring and his playmaking, Joel averages accounting for 44 points per game. And those 44 points per game put him in relative territory of players like LeBron, John Morant, Dame Lillard, and Nikola Jokic in terms of how many points they generate for their teams per game. And those 44 points per game that Embiid creates account for 40% of all of Philly's offense. So with his elite offensive production, highlighted by both his extensive scoring arsenal and his top 5 defensive impact metrics, Joel Embiid is not only in my mind the leading candidate for this year's MVP award, but he is also putting together one of the best seasons we have ever seen from a center.